It was so bad it changed technology. It's some kind of a Google.
It's a story of my life.
First time I've had it. So welcome to the May 2014 Omaha Linux User Group meeting.
How is it May already?
I cannot remember last month.
Impossible.
Oh yeah, please don't lose those.
Oops. Drop the sticky note.
And nobody gets hurt.
We had to we're doing a InDesign class that uses the Adobe Creative Cloud. So they're all linked to specific machines because you have to log in with ID and password.
So if we trade them, it would be bad.
Yeah. So where was I? Oh, I'm John Larson, the systems engineer at AIM.
Hi, John.
Hi,
John.
people out there on the internet. So yeah, Friday for my class, I'm actually taking the Windows class. Rush.
They're paying you?
Let's see, yeah.
Iowa Western.
Iowa Western Community College. I was not a member of the class, the Linux class, but they were having a cyber defense competition. And I was asked by some students to be on their team. And then I was asked by some other students to be on their team. I was asked by some more students to be on their team. And it kind of got into a bidding war.
And then you're asked by the instructor.
In the middle of class.
One of the teams.
So,
People showing
The
up
moderator.
with cases of Mountain Dew.
That's right. Yeah.
right. So, our team, I went with the first people who asked. I figured they were the first. I'd let them do that. And we were supposed to have 5 people on our team, and it turned out it was only 4 because the 5th person never participated. So I started working on we have our own little vSphere, all this is set up. A couple Linux boxes, some Windows boxes, integrate them all, and try to be an ISP and work with your customers. So last Thursday, was the first night that all my team members could work together outside of school hours. The competition was 8 a.m. the next morning. So I had been preparing stuff all week, and one of the individuals who prepared the Windows boxes gave it like 1.5 gig, which means as soon as you install Windows, you can't put service packs on. And when you try to install other things, the executables fail because it's not Service Pack 3. That was fun, trying to get around that. But let's see. I was up until 2:30 that morning. I feel proud that I was up later than all the students who were on my team who are half my age.
Significantly younger.
They were drinking Mountain Dew. I was not. So, feel pretty good about that. Good feather in my hat. So Friday comes around, and we're all in this special environment where we're using real-world IPs, but we're air-gapped, so we're not on the real internet. Each team is given a set of IP, a whole block, a whole 24 block to use. And we got our IP, and we configured our stuff, and I was sitting there working on the firewall, trying to test, nothing works. Do a few more changes, nothing works. I spent 3 hours working on the firewall that morning. In the meantime, Michael was on the red team up here. They were looking for stuff, and we had to provide documentation to the green team and let the white team know. And so we were finally provided a computer that could test our equipment to show that, yes, we were okay. So I've been pulling my hair out for nothing all morning. So we start to see some stuff happen. We see someone named Chuck Norris trying to log in. Well, the account was on the system, but there's no password on it. But after that, it was all quiet for our team. The guys behind us, it was pretty funny. Dog! My machine, it just went down! It's gone! And they're all, freaking out in the back row. John, what did you tell me to do? I said, What are you both blaming me for? So, unfortunately for us, fortunately for us, our IP block was mistakenly given out wrong to the red team, so they didn't exactly attack us. But the vulnerabilities were still there. But one was the SUID on Nano.
Yeah.
There was accounts on the system that weren't in our documentation. We should have closed those holes, but we never got it tested really. So we weren't really taken down per se. So I guess security by obscurity worked because you didn't have the right IP. But everybody pretty much got first place because of the wild and woolly ways of things. One of the funnier events that happened was right around lunchtime. We were told that we had to leave the room. Everybody has to leave the room. Why? Leave the room. What's going on? Fire drill. You got to leave the room. Okay. So my team and I yell at each other, lock down, lock the terminals, grab any documentation, don't leave anything there.
Exactly.
Right? Well, of course, I leave my laptop back there, which has documentation in it. Totally forgot that. But nobody went into my bag apparently. We come back in, and I start pulling everything out of my bag. Now, Craig will attest I have a lot of stuff in my bag.
Biggest man person
And I was going through all sorts of stuff, and my team members are like, dude, how much stuff do you have in there? It's like Mary Poppins. You keep pulling out stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and the next thing you know, you're going to pull out an umbrella. And I go, here you go. So, that was a good laugh. But yeah, it was a very good experience, good team building and team learning for everybody involved. So, if you ever get invited to do it, I would do it. I think next year, I would prefer to be on the white team, because my Linux knowledge is kind of a little bit higher than the kids in the Linux class. So I was getting bombarded with questions all day. So I'm sure they're watching this right now, but hang in there, guys. And their finals are all in the next week, along with mine. So John was very gracious in not putting the CCNA final the same day as Windows and Linux final.
Yikes.
So they were feeling happy when they moved it. Consequently, this is funny. I was asked if I could get time off tomorrow morning to accompany them to the Yahoo data center tour. And my team members were egging me on to wear my Google shirt. But I have a staff meeting tomorrow morning, and I cannot miss that. Today, Adam is going to speak about XBMC. And I don't think I have any notes to say about Olug at the moment. So, my esteemed colleague, Mr. Hayter.
Thank you. John Larson, everyone. John Larson. How many of you heard of XBMC? What does it stand for?
No clue.
Xbox Multimedia Center.
Used to stand for. Oh. Now it stands for the same thing that X does in X Windows. Nothing. What's the K in KDE stand for?
I have no idea.
K. Yeah, it used to stand for the Xbox Media Center. This was originally a piece of software developed to run on the original Xbox, not the 360, the original Xbox as a replacement dashboard. And then also to be able to run homebrew software and other things, because the original Xbox was basically a PC. It was like a Pentium 3 with 64 meg RAM. And it kind of grew from there. It became a generic media center when this group started developing it and supporting it on non-Xbox architectures. You can actually still get a version that runs on the original Xbox if you have one. You either have to have your Xbox hardware modded to be able to run non-signed code, or there's a couple of software exploits you can use that actually let you do it. And it still works. It's not an official release anymore. You have to get it from some weird source, but it still works. I actually ran it for quite a while. The only real issue with the old Xbox right now is that it just doesn't have enough power to play any sort of high quality video at all.
733 penny and 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, it can do standard definition video all day long. You throw like a 720p at it, it's just not going to be able to do it. Software works great.
And just a reminder that came out in 2001.
Yeah, it's
13 or
13
14 years old.
Yeah.
The Xbox?
Yeah,
The original Xbox.
Into 2000, wasn't it?
I think so.
Okay. So installation. I have a stock Fedora 20 installation here on this laptop. You know, if you go to XBMC, as you can see, this is timely because 13.0 just came out officially. It's been in beta for the last couple months. If you look and see what options we have for downloads, there are versions for all these operating systems. The Android one is, this is actually a full version of XBMC. This is just in the last maybe 6 months. You can actually get the full version of XBMC for your Android device. And it runs great. I have it on my tablet at home. I use it. There is a remote as well, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But this is actually the full version. The one for iOS, this is only, I believe, for jailbroken iOS devices. Honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't tried that. And then Apple TV. Have you ever looked on eBay or Craigslist for original Apple TVs, the Apple TV 1?
Things still go for a pretty good penny.
They go for like $150 because people figured out how to basically jailbreak them and install whatever kind of software you want on them. So they're really sort of in demand. The Apple TV version 2 did lock down quite a bit, but still there is a way to get XBMC running in there. I have not done that. My experience with XBMC is with XBMC Ubuntu, which is a specific Ubuntu-based distribution that is designed just to be XBMC. If you want to play around with this, with XBMC without working anything up, this is your best bet. It's super easy to just set up and run. I have it running at home on a couple of Raspberry Pi systems. That's really easy as well. There's actually a specific distribution made by a kid named Sam Nazarko. He's like a 19-year-old college kid who puts the distribution together and maintains it. It works really well. I run on Android, I run on Linux, and I run on Windows. I have this set up at home right now on an old compact desktop system connected to my projector, and then just NFS shared back to my file server for the local media stuff. So XBMC, the XBMC does two things really, really well. If you're thinking of like an all-over media solution, it was really designed to be able to play local content. So if that content lives on your hard drive or maybe on your local network somewhere, it was designed to be able to play. And when I say any kind of content, you name it. Any kind of container format, any video format, any image format, any audio format, it will play anything you throw at it. You have an ISO rip of a Blu-ray disc, it'll play it, and you'll get all the menus, and you'll get everything. Same thing with DVDs. Everything you throw at it, it'll play. It is also really good at, it has been modified and extended in 1,000 different ways, and we're going to see examples of thousands of different plugins that you can get for it that let it access other internet-based content as well. So not only a really good local media center, but also a really good internet media center as well, and we'll see some examples of some of that. So I'm just going to show you kind of the default Linux way to do it. Since this is a Fedora-based distribution, it is the yum repository, RPM-based, right? In our etc yum.repos.d, we have our standard directories, Fedora for update testing. I have the Google Chrome one in there because I have Chrome installed in here. And then we have RPM Fusion. You guys aren't familiar with Red Hat. There are a number of third-party repositories. This is basically precompiled software ready for installation on your Fedora system that is not provided directly from Fedora. It's a lot of stuff that falls under the category of like DVD playing software, right? Anything with MP3 in it, stuff that they don't want to ship by default. So there's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of media stuff in here. XBMC is in the RPM Fusion repository. If you're installing this on Ubuntu-based system, XBMC is actually in the default Ubuntu repository. I don't even think it's Universe. I think it's the one below that. So it's really easy to install. Just use your distribution standard install tools to do that, which I did here. As you can see, what do I have? There you go. And we're using Gotham Beta 4, which is not quite the latest and greatest version. Should you install this from source? Sure, go nuts. I've done it before. It's a giant pain in the ass. It takes like a half hour.
No.
I know, it's not compile time. It takes a half hour to get all the dependencies installed because it has hooks into all these different media players to support every format you can think of. It's really hard to do. I used to do it when Fedora was really far behind on XBMC versions. I used to compile it, but not anymore. So, run it from the command line, run it from the whatever. Okay, so the first thing you're going to learn is that XBMC is designed to be run with a keyboard. Now, there is mouse support. There's even remote control support, and I'm sorry to say that I forgot to bring my Stream Zap USB remote, because it works like a champion with it. It's really cool.
Config,
And it's super, well, the basic navigation buttons work.
Yeah, okay.
You add
That would make
one config file, and then all the buttons work, and it's awesome. And I use that for a long time as my primary. Now I just have one of those little media keyboards, those little Bluetooth media keyboards, you know, and that works. Yes, sir.
I run an XBMC box at home.
Yeah.
Any Windows Media Center remote that comes with the USB IR little port
Yeah.
will work with XBMC.
It'll work with it.
Out
Cool.
of the box.
Nice.
You get them on eBay for Amazon for $20.
Very nice. So we're not going to talk about remotes. I'm going to talk about the keyboard shortcuts because there's about 1,000 of them. You only have to know a few. First, you'll notice that it's running in a window, the backslash key. So I'm going to write the ones we care about here. The backslash key will toggle you between windowed and full screen mode. So there's full screen mode. This is the default skin, which comes with the latest version of XBMC. There's also about 1,000 different skins you can use. Notice that there is mouse support, but if you let the mouse go, that little arrow goes away, and I primarily run with the keyboard. So standard arrow keys. This skin presents us the options in a horizontal bar along the bottom here that you can cycle. It wraps around. So we see our options are weather, which I wonder what that one does. Pictures, videos, music, programs, and system. Okay. So let's go through these one at a time here. Weather, of course, yeah, it shows you the weather. You can configure what source you want to pull from. I told it Weather Underground. It's got to update its information there, and it gives you like a 10-day forecast. Basic UI stuff, arrow keys navigate, backspace goes back. S will bring up the shutdown screen. So I hit S anywhere in the application, you get this exit, power off, and you can actually customize what these different commands do. Okay, backspace takes me back. If I go back in there and I hit the left arrow key, so in a menu like that, left arrow will bring up a context menu that's specific to whatever screen you're looking at. This is usually where you change the view of the content you're looking at. And then you can right arrow to get out of it, or escape to get out of it. We'll do that too. That takes me all, escape takes me all the way back as well. Okay. Pictures, that's pretty obvious. So let's take a look at this. So what you do is inside each one of these containers, you designate locations that you want to pull your content from. I have not identified any locations in here yet. So the only options I have are picture add-ons and add pictures. So when you're looking at media, whether it's pictures, music, or videos, you're either going to look from one of your repositories, which I'm going to add one here, or you're going to go into the add-ons section, which we'll look at a little bit later after we do the local stuff. Okay? Now, before I go any further here, I'm going to go back to windowed mode. I'm going to go back to my prompt here for a second. So I have a user on here just called Infotech. This is the laptop I use at Infotech. I have a directory I created called Media. If I look in the contents of this directory, here are the subdirectories I have here. I've used XBMC for quite a while. In fact, I've used lots of different media playing tools. The biggest thing for me, the requirements for me from a media playback standpoint, in my house, the number one has been the wife acceptance factor. That's got to be the number one thing, right? And so even though I've tried different ones over the years, I gravitate back towards XBMC because of the flexibility. It's extensibility through all the different plugins that exist, and the fact that I finally got my wife to learn how to use it. So if I change it now, man, I'm out of the house. But I did look. The second thing that is a requirement for me is I want to be able to organize my media in the way that I want to do it. And this has given me the ability to kind of switch back and forth between different interfaces over the years, where the underlying data structure still stays the same. So I recommend you do that as well. And there are a few specific things about XBMC. You really kind of have to do it a certain way in order for it to realize your full functionality. But it makes it much more organized on the back end anyway, so I recommend it. So I have and this is just test data I put in here, but I have it broken down into these categories: home movies, music, pictures, and TV shows. If we look at some of these, so let's look at like pictures. I just have a couple of JPEGs in here, right? No folder structure, although that doesn't really matter. I certainly could. Look at home movies. I just have a couple of MP4s. The movies, I just have one in here. File name says Boondock Saints. Could be anything, I don't know. If I look at TV shows, I actually, and this is important, and we'll see why in a little bit when we get into TV shows. This is important from an XBMC standpoint, that you have it structured this way. It represents your data to you in a much cleaner interface if you do it this way.
There's a period, is that what you mean?
No, actually what I'm specifically talking about is one directory per TV show and then episodes.
In other words,
under
it's
each
playing out
directory.
its schema, basically.
That's right.
Yeah, it's metadata in there.
It's utilizing this metadata, and it will pull from an internet source here. Getting ahead of myself, but the point is, this is all in a directory called media under my home directory. Okay, so that's what we got to remember, because what I need to do now is add. Problem occurred. Oh, GNOME shell just crashed. What are the odds? Okay. So since I'm just setting this up initially, I have to tell XBMC where all my media is. You're probably only going to do this once, right? And then you add new media. So I'm going to go to pictures. I'm going to say add pictures. Browse. Okay, and it gives me a list of what I can browse for. Of course, I can go right to the root of the hard drive. I can go, or this will show me all the partitions, right? This will be the root of the drive. This will be a home folder. I have some other options here. Universal plug-and-play devices. You can actually browse to a Windows network if you have zero-comp enabled systems on here. This list is dependent upon what capabilities have been compiled into your version of XBMC. This is the default stuff that comes with the Fedora compiled version. I've seen other things on here. In particular, the version that comes with the Raspberry Pi has an option for, it'll do NFS discovery on here. So you can actually browse right for NFS shares right from the application rather than like setting them up at NCF tab or whatever. I've only ever seen them on the Raspberry Pi distro, I'm not sure why. So I'm just going to say home folder, because that's where I know this stuff is. I'm going to say it was the media directory and it was pictures. Okay, there's my directory. Okay, it says, what do you want to call this down here? It defaults to just pictures, that's fine. You can add X number of media sources. And the idea, what you're doing here, and this is true for any of the containers. So this is the music container, right? So we're going to say this is the music container. We've got source 1, source 2, source 3, source 4. Maybe we've got 4 different directories. Could be on 4 different systems with 4 different protocols. It's all going to get imported into a big music library. Now, not import as in copied and like taking up space in your hard drive. No. It's going to be indexed, and it's going to be stored in a database that XBMC will access. Okay? So every kind of media you play through XBMC, you're playing it either as a reference from the database that you've created and you keep updated, and I'll show you how to do that, or you're just telling XBMC, hey, just browse directly to this file and play it. You can use XBMC as just basically a glorified file manager. Browse through your subdirectories of media, hit enter on them, it'll play, go back, that's fine. You're really missing out on the vast majority of the cool stuff that XBMC can do, though, because when you let it import it into a library, it looks up all that metadata for your file. In the case of MP3s, it will read the ID tag, right? It'll also hit against, I'm pretty sure it's the Grace Note database to get like album art and stuff like that, and then it presents it to you in a really nice interface, which you see here. Same with videos, same with movies, and we'll see examples of that. So I added a entry here. Now, pictures don't really have a lot of metadata, so I'm going to browse these directly, and we can see what they are right here. Okay, you get the little thumbnail here, or I can just hit enter on them, and it starts a slideshow. We've all seen picture apps, right? This was a friend of mine's son just got Eagle Scout last night. Ceremony.
How does it handle duplicate? Like if you have the same album.
If you have the same album, so file
From
name
different
is
sources.
different. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you try.
It would represent them as duplicate in the library.
Okay. So it showed twice.
It would show it twice. That's right. Remember, from this interface, left arrow brings up the contextual menu for this entire interface. So if I hit left arrow here, I get options. You can see I have a view option. It's a little cut off here, but if I hit enter here, it's going to cycle through the different view options. Big list, thumbnail, pick thumbs, image wrap. Okay? Sort by. You can change the sort order. You can put a filter on there. You can set the slideshow randomized. So see all these options. And that's, every interface has that left arrow that brings that up. On an individual item that you're viewing in your list, the letter C will bring up the context menu for the item itself. So if I hit C here, it's like right-clicking, right? Picture info, start the slideshow, you get the point. So if I do picture information, it actually reads the, if it's a JPEG in this case, it'll read the, what is that called, the JFIF data, is that what they call it, JFIF? Like the metadata that's in a JPEG. When it was taken, how big it was, blah, 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 it was taken with my phone. Okay? So, all right, nothing too special. You've seen a million programs that'll do this, right? That's pictures. Okay? There's, and we won't get to add-ons until a bit later. All right, let's do music next. We'll do videos for us. Let's do music next. So I get the same thing, right? Music add-ons and files. I haven't added a repository for my music yet. I'm going to tell it where my music is. Browse, home folder, media, music. Music. Okay? Now, I'm going to right-click or hit the context menu here, and notice one option next to the last one, scan item to library. So there, it just parsed everything in that music directory into this library. Every time I add or change content in that music directory, I need to tell XBMC to update that.
You can't set that to do it like automatically?
Yes, you can. You can do it. There's an add-on you can get that basically makes a cron job out of doing it. There's also an XBMC, and this is how I do it. There's an XBMC API that you can hit. So you just call curl against a URL, and it does it. So I do it programmatically whenever I add content. Because I'm usually not, I'm usually logged in remotely to my box, messing up around. I do it, I run this little script, it hits it, updates. Okay, so now that I've done that, notice when I go back, I don't know if you noticed this, when I go back to music now, the interface has changed a little bit. First, I get this up here, and it looks like it's not done downloading the album art yet. Also, notice down here, I have all these sub-options under this menu. If you remember before, all I had was files. Files and add-ons. I had files and add-ons. Now I have library, songs, albums, artists, because now there's a database there, right? I can still go back and browse by files. There. Music, Pink Floyd, right? But I can also now do this and go by artist. Pink Floyd, albums. And play the song. Okay. So that's really the beauty of XBMC, is this whole library concept. XBMC has taken some crap over the years because it's difficult to use with content that isn't in the library. If it's in the library, awesome, right? Oh, I love this. Okay, another keyboard shortcut to know. M will bring up a play menu, whether you're doing music or video. So I'm going to hit M here, and I hit controls. Backspace, backspace, backspace. Okay, there's music.
So those options underneath music, can you add, so like artist, album, songs, genre?
Oh, that's a good question, because when I go to library, that's all there. Look at the options I have under library.
Yeah, genres.
Right? Yeah. Recently added, recently played, you can add playlists, you can search. I mean, it keeps track of all this for you. Top 100, what are the top 100 songs I've ever played on this installation of XBMC? You can give song ratings, and it's pretty cool. That's a good question. I don't know if you can do that. Okay, let's do videos. Okay, I have files, playlists, and video add-ons. I need to add some repositories. I have 2 repositories, if you remember. Bear with me here for a second. I have 3. I have home movies, I have movies, and I have TV shows. So let's add those one at a time. I'm not going full screen. Maybe this is still beta for a reason. Well,
Forward again.
yeah, I recorded them. Huh.
Yeah, it is beta.
Yeah.
Oh no!
That was awesome. We're getting almost to OXD. Try a little lighter environment. All right, go back to this. Videos. Files, add videos. Let's do movies first. Notice I have a few new options here. Replay TV devices. You used to have a replay TV, didn't you? No? Who did we do that had a replay TV? JD have a replay TV?
JD.
SAP streams. I have no idea what that is. Anybody? Probably not SAP, the database company.
New software.
Isn't that here for hearing impaired something? SAP streams, I think.
Man, I do not know.
Second audio program.
I do not know the answer to that. It's very well
You must
put together.
be doing Spanish other language.
Okay, so I'm going to say home folder media. What did I say? Movies? Let's do movies first.
Descriptive audio program.
Okay,
as well.
so when I say add here, now I get a new interface. We didn't see this little pop-up when we did pictures or music. It says set content. It assumes that you want to identify what the heck is in this. Well, you said it's videos. Tell XBMC what it is so it can do this library import for you. Here's the options. It knows about music videos. Who knew music videos still existed?
Oh, come on.
And so yeah, just not an MTV. So this is actually a drop-down list. I just have to navigate it with someone seen one at a time. When I select one of these, here are my options. So if you have, for whatever reason, a directory full of music video MP4 files, you can tell it to, hey, query this internet source for information about those. Query this one. Get more. Maybe somebody wrote a plugin to hit against some data-ish site. I don't know. And these are scrapers, right? It gets the data and then updates the database. These are not music videos, so I'm not going to select that. Hit enter. There's the TV show one. We'll get to that one when we do next. We want movies. Okay, what are we hitting for movies? A movie database. This is actually the website tmdb.org, themoviedatabase.org. Great site. It's basically wiki-based, community-driven. People go up there and they put in episode information and TV shows, and it has a really nice API, and it's structured well enough to give you XML from your queries, and lots of front-end software will hit it to do exactly what we're doing here, which is to take a file name, try to figure out what movie or TV show or episode it is, and then update a database.
So
right?
similarly to IMDb and CDDB, which were open, then they sold.
That's right.
They regrouped and made more new ones.
Right. So we are going to query the movie database, which we like. Actually, I'm sorry, I was wrong in the URL. The URL I gave was for TV shows. This one is just themoviedb.org. Okay? But they both work in the same model. And then you have some options here. Maybe your movies are in separate folders to match the movie title. Why would you ever do that? Well, if you have, maybe your movie is in multiple files, you want it all in a subdirectory. Maybe you have subtitle files, right? If you have a file, maybe your subtitles aren't embedded in the MP4 or AVI file itself. Maybe it's a separate file that would end in .srt. XBMC will honor that if it's in the same directory named exactly the same as your movie file. It will honor that SRT file and allow you to fix subtitles.
Are there any file naming?
Yep, we're going to get to that.
Sorry.
Yep.
I'm assuming that would affect things like if you have movies that are on multiple discs.
Yeah, and there's actually an option in the interface. If you name it correctly, it'll automatically know the next one comes along. They'll chain them together. Scan recursively is checked by default. Exclude past from library updates. Maybe this does not have any content that's ever going to be in any sort of external source, like my home movies directory, right? I would check that. Exclude past from library. But I want this included, so I'm going to say this is movies. I'm going to go down and say OK. And it says, hey, do you want me to go ahead and add all this? You bet. Go. And you get a little status update in the upper right. I see the file name. It should do a look up here. So look at that. Out for a second. It says Boondock Saints in the year 2000. Now, if I go all the way back to the main interface, what's different? I have a new option on my menu. I still have videos. That's where we were, right? Now I have movies. Because now I have a movie library. It contains currently one movie. But I have the same options here: actors, year, genres, title, recently added. You got 1,000 of movies here, and you get the interface. This is actually the last 4 or 5 added, so you can actually just go up here, right directly, and run it. Or you can go here and see a list. Right? We have the same options here. If I hit left arrow, I get different display options: list, big list, thumbnail, poster wrap, fan art. I like media info too. That's my current favorite one. So, and again, this is the data that is all pulled from the moviedb.org, right? This image, this is fan art. This is pulled from the file itself. It's standard definition video. It's a 2-channel sound. I don't know what 2.2 means. Yeah, I don't know. Standard definition.
Let's play it and find out.
Currently has a rating of 6.9 on IMDb. That's where that comes from. You can tweak all this for where it comes. But yeah, if I hit enter, it plays it. There's the movie. Okay.
Popcorn.
While you're playing the movie, standard keyboard shortcuts. Space will pause it. Remember our M key gets us the play menu, right? Hit M. It brings up our play menu on the bottom. Now that's your standard controls down here. However, there's also some really nice movie-specific controls down here. I know it's hard to see if you're in the back, but I'm going to go to one that looks like a film reel. I age myself. I know that's a film reel. The one you probably care about is this one right here. The view mode is where you can change to. There's original size. There's stretch 16 by 9, wide zoom. So you want to find the one that fits your screen the best, right? So this is a, what's the best for your phone, right? 16, stretch 69, we'll say. And then you can also do this, set as default for all videos. If you like this, you can say no matter what format your video in, you can always tell it, hey, stretch 16 by 9. Or maybe enforce 4 by 3 if you're like me and bought a screen too long ago, so it's not 16 by 9, it's 4 by 3. So I force everything to 4 by 3. The other big thing I like in this menu, especially with my projector, it's getting kind of old, I need a new bulb. I do that. Yeah, it gets washed out a little bit, but at least I can see it. Okay? So you can monkey with all that stuff. And you can set that as defaults for all movies. You can see the other options, zoom them out, crop the black bars. There's a whole video calibration section. Which one?
De-interlace all the way to the top.
De-interlace video on, and then you can tell it how you want to do it. Software blend. De-interlace half, de-interlace. Some guy named Bob.
Microsoft Bob.
Bob. That's evil Bob with the goatee. Weave. That's Bob's sister.
Does it have overscan settings?
And that's normally something you'd only see on like a CRT.
Right. That's
But the source material may be terrible at helping that might help.
This is nice too, this video calibration, which will hold for all videos. Look at my little thing in the upper left.
Yep.
See it moving? I do this on my screen because my projector suffers from overscan a little bit. Now in the lower right, I love this. Now you can have it exactly fits your screen. And then you say, where do you want the subtitle? Oh, I want them up the higher one right there. Oh, now make sure this is square. Okay, that's close enough.
Now, we must all fear
Okay.
evil men.
Okay, so there's movies. Okay, back to here. Let's go back to videos, files. Notice we have one source now, right? We added this movies. You can name it whatever you want. Let's add a new one called home folder, media, TV shows. Okay. Says, hey, what is in this directory? I'm going to say not YouTube videos. I'm going to say TV shows. There we go. And this pulls from the TVDB, the tvdb.com, of course. It is. That's the name of it.
It's a good site.
And here's your option. Selected folder contains only a single TV show or exclude path. I'm going to leave both those off. And I have found that if you just have file names in one big directory and not in that subdirectory scheme, XBMC doesn't import them correctly, if at all. So if you use that subdirectory scheme, everything just magically works, as we'll see here. Say OK, update the library, yes. Watch it do its thing. Converts the Big Bang Theory to the Big Bang Theory. New Girl, Archer. I did put Archer 2009 in there because there was some TV show on BBC in the 70s called Archer that XBMC defaults to. If you don't say 2009, I learned that the hard way. So now that that's done, I go back to my main menu. New menu option? Yes, sir. TV shows. Recently added episodes. I have my categories down here. Let's see what the browse interface looks like. There you go. Now you say, oh, I don't like the fact that that says 2009. Fine. TV show information. Oh, hold on. Where do I do that? Manage, I think. Edit title. There you go. There, I just wanted to say Arthur. There, no, it says Arthur. Yeah. Go into there. This probably shouldn't watch that.
Especially if I haven't seen it since
Just
season
watch it.
5.
Yeah, there you go. So there's Big Actor.
Gentlemen,
Right?
Star Wars Day is rapidly approaching. We
Oh, don't stop it.
Yeah. Okay, so that was videos, TV shows. Let's do our last one. Let's do home movies. So I'm going to go to Files. I'm going to say Browse, Home folder, Media, Home movies. Okay. What is in here? I'm going to say nothing because there's no scraper it's going to find. Now I'm not going to check to exclude selected photo from scans because, okay, so it didn't prompt me for anything, right? So I can just browse right into here and just, it's just basically a file browser now, right? It's just like File, Explorer. I can put one of these in place. These are my twins. This is what skate marked the other way. Okay. It's really windy. So that's just basic file browsing, right? Now,
One of those weird skateboards.
Yeah, it was a ripstick. It's a rich thing. So what if I want like a library for this? What if I want to put metadata in here so I can search by year or sort by all this other stuff, right? Well, there's no source I can pull this from, so I have to provide it myself. And you have to do this outside of the interface. So I'm going to shut down XBMC here. So I guess I wouldn't have to shut it down, but whatever. Okay, let's go back to that directory we were in. You see that okay? Home movies. Okay, there's my files. The one we were just playing was the largest one, so it's the top one, ends in 201046. And I've done this already to save you from having to watch me type. Maybe.
When did you do it, today or yesterday?
Man, I think it moved my temp partition when I read. That's annoying. That's fine.
Just say CP then.
Yeah, that's fine. No, what I'm going to show is what you need to do is you need to create a text file that ends in .nfo in the same directory as your video file. It's an XML format file, and as long as it matches the same name as your file and it matches the standard that XBMC is looking for, XBMC will happily add it to your library. This is from the XBMC wiki. It gives you the format. Now there's a million fields in here. This is an example for a movie, and this is like everything you could possibly put in here. We don't need all of this.
If you create this as like a sort of a placeholder template without editing much of it, can you edit it then in the interface? If you get the file name right.
Right. Could you then edit it in the interface? I don't know if it would save it back. Probably. It wouldn't save it back to the info file. It would probably just save it in the library. I don't know. I've always just done it this way, I guess. I don't do this a lot, honestly. I have a lot of home movies. I just know to go and kind of file browser and do it. I haven't gone through and actually added all my non-scrapable stuff yet. One of these days I'll probably do it. Okay, so I'm just going to paste all this in here, and let's just set this. Let's just set a couple of the fields. So Stanley and Stefan skateboard. Original title, we don't need that. Sort title if it's different from the normal one. If it's a set like part 1, part 2, part 3, rating, year. Oops, I'll do the year. 2014. Okay, you can see all these other options. Oh, outline. Well, here we'll do plot. Skating. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of the rest of this because we don't need it. So this becomes a pretty simple XML file, right? It's got a whopping 3 variables. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to run XBMC. I'm going to go to this was videos, files, home movies. I'm going to hit C here to bring up the context menu. And, oh, okay, now I actually do have to tell it, hey, you need to scrape this. And we're going to call it movies, but it's local information only. So that's where I set that, right? Because I wanted to look for that .info file, which it won't do otherwise. Okay. Yes, do it. Okay, so you saw a little thing pop up, it gave me 1. So if I go into home movies now, notice that the title is no longer the file name. It's the title that I put in there. And if I go here and say media info, there's my plot.
14.
Year 2014, my plot was saved. So I added manually this to the database. And then you get all the fun stuff like, you can filter, oops, excuse me. And now it's in my movies directory, right? Now it's with every other movie. So you can set a genre, you can do year, you can do actor, all the same stuff you do with regular movies. Okay, so that's how to get stuff in the library for music. Oh no, we didn't. Oh, we did music, right? For music, videos, which are movies and TV shows and home movies. All right. Now let's talk about file naming here a little bit, because that is important. You notice that XBMC was able to figure out what all these files were because I have them named relatively sanely. So if you look at movies, it says boondock.saints.mp4. This will work fine with underscores. It'll work fine if you have like a year in the title, in my experience. Again, it's querying that website, themoviedb.org, and it does a pretty good job of figuring that out. If it's wrong, then you can go into the interface there and hit that edit title like I did and force a refresh, and it'll look it up again. I have to do that with Star Wars, the Clone Wars, because they had the theatrical one and they had the one that was on TV, and it always gets wrong. So I have to manually do that. There's another one. Oh, there was a horror movie in the 70s called Frozen. It always thinks when I first. Now, once you fix it, it's fixed forever, right?
Was that the 70s?
When that first comes up. Well, I
there's another one too.
Okay,
Is that the one where on the ski lift?
Yeah, I
There's
think
more
so.
recent.
The fan art has like snow on it.
Because I have both.
Oh.
And it pulled it from
It's a
that
little
one.
disconcerting when you first
Yeah.
see that. So anyway, so try to be as sane as possible. You can fix it. The TV shows one is a little bit trickier, but it's also a little more structured. So I've had better luck with this. Let's look at New Girl. Okay, so this is an example of a file. Let's say you download it from some website, right? Because people do that. I do. So I got this. I downloaded this.
Usenet.
Yeah. Or you ended up using it, right? Oh, there's a cool XBMC plugin for SickBeard. It lets you control the whole thing from XBMC. Anywho, so this is an example of a file that I downloaded. Now this is named relatively sanely, right? This is named, and this is kind of the standard format for TV shows if you find files of them on the internet. Season, and then a 2-digit number, and episode, and then a 2-digit number. Or I suppose 3-digit if it's Doctor Who or something. And then there's also crap on the end. XBMC will handle this just fine. And in fact, that's a little bit of a misnomer. It's actually the tvdb.org that's handling this just fine. Because XBMC is just sending this string to the tvdb.org, and it's responding back with a show identification number. However, what I've gotten into the habit of doing is renaming my files so they're a little saner, just so there's no doubt that XBMC will get it right. And the program I use to do that is a Python program called tvnamer. You can go over that, and you can see the GitHub repo. It's one of those that it's not in like a Fedora repo, but Python scripts have this nice little wrapper, sort of like Yum, called easy install that you can use to automatically grab this. So you can do easy install tvnamer, it just installs. And so I've got it in bin right now. Right there. It's a Python script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run tvnamer, and I'm going to pass the argument of that file. And what it does is it actually queries the tvdb.org. And first, it actually parses the file name, and it pulled out this information, season 3, episode 20. So it's the Python code itself that's doing it. And then it says, hey, I found this many shows on the tvdb.org that match this. And you notice it's all the same show, they're just different ones. So pick one. Which one's right? Oh, all-knowing human. That's number 1. Okay, you pick number 1, therefore, I want to enter a choice first. There you go. It says, okay, I want to rename this file name to this. Are you okay with that? And it just uses this format. And I say, sure. I'm awesome with that. Yes. Okay, and I renamed it. So now if I look in here, there's my new file name.
Episode name.
XBMC is perfectly happy with this file name. It'll parse it all day long. Okay. I have a big problem with this file name. Actually, I have two problems with this file name. Got spaces. Yep.
It's
File name.
in brackets.
And
Bracket.
brackets in it. Hyphens, I'm a little less. Spaces and brackets, not on my watch. So I wrote a little script, of course, called spaces to underscores, which takes care of all that crap.
Is it you said?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Man, I wrote this so long ago, it's probably embarrassing. I probably should be shown. But it works. I probably still have it somewhere, I don't know. But anyway, you run it in a directory. It'll parse every file in the directory, strip out all the crap, including spaces, which I don't really care about, rename it, lowercase everything, and then save it. And it operates on a per directory basis. So if I just run spaces to underscores here, it tells me what it does. Now I have a much, much saner file name that looks like this. Show name, season, episode, title, and the TBDB will look this up all day long, and it just works. Awesome.
Suppose there's any way you can like pass arguments to that script to like tell it to do so.
Yep.
Okay.
I did the human intervention one here. You do not have to do that. Let's do that with a different one here. So I'm going to go to Archer. Okay. TV namer -B for batch. Enter.
Yeah, because that would be a full-time job. For
I know.
everything.
I don't spend that much time doing it. It automatically picks the first option and renames it. And you can just say start at MP4 too. It'll just do everyone in the directory, even if they're different TV shows. So if you know that it's going to, and if it fails, I'm looking up, it just won't rename it. So it doesn't break it. It just doesn't rename it. So there. It's done. Now, of course, I still have to do the spaces to underscores thing.
Oh, hang on. Edit the Python script.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I could automate all the 5 steps. Okay, and then there, so that's there. We'll do one more. What do we got? The Big Bang Theory. TV namer, be that. Waiting. Now, think about what we're doing though, right? We had a list of files. We told XBMC to import these into a library, database, whatever. Now, of course, it's not importing the data, right? It's pointers back to the files. What do we just do though? We just change the name of the file. So we have to tell XBMC to rescan because we just broke all of its links. Okay. So if I go into TV shows now and say title, Archer, and play it, it says, hey, genius, this file is no longer available. Would you like to remove it? So what we need to tell, what we need to do is this. Oops, we need to go to videos, files, TV shows, hit C for the context menu, scan for new content. Scanning for new content. Now what does it look like in TV shows? Oh, look at that. Now we got 2 episodes of Archer. One pointing to a file that doesn't exist, and one pointing to a file that does exist. Crap. All right, so what do you have to do in that case? You actually have to go into system. We haven't seen this yet. This is where you configure all these millions of settings. You go into, hold on, I got to think for a second. Where's system? No, it's video, I think. And again, you only have to do this when you do what I did, when you break stuff behind the scenes. Oh, that's right, you have to say standards. Settings level is now advanced. Now I see more options. There. Clean library. Remove items from your library that can't be found, either renamed, deleted, or on removable storage. So it cleans the library. It's a big library. My library takes like 15 minutes to go back to TV shows title. Archer there. Back to 1%. And it actually plays. Yay. Okay. Okay, so that's basic XBMC functionality. That's a few of the keyboard shortcuts. That's content management from a file system standpoint. Any questions on any of that so far? We looked at the settings a little bit. I'm not going to go through all these. Let's touch on a few of them. Appearance, this is where you can change how the skin works. There are actually other skins under this one called Confluence. There's a whole group that creates these awesome looking skins. I haven't really messed with it very much. Here's the video settings, right? Here's all these options you can see here. We're not going to mess with that. I mean, there's a lot of them. Teletext. What to do if you put a DVD in, if you got a DVD player, automatically play it. You want to turn on subtitles all the time. What language would you like them to be in? What font would you like them to be in? How big should it be? Should it be bold? Should it be italic? This is a cool one. This is relatively new. This started with XBMC version 12, which is about a year old now. The goal was to make XBMC capable of being a front end for a number of different back-end DVR systems, such as Windows Media Player. What's it called? Windows Media Center. TV. Name some other ones.
Home Run, HD.
HD Home Run, that's right. Not Surge, Sage TV. Sage TV is another one, right? So the goal was to have XBMC be just a default front end for all of these. I have never tried, so I can't speak to it. I'm not a Myth TV user anymore, so I can't really speak to it. But I know a lot of work went into this. Check it out if you have one of those devices at home. But I don't know anything about it. Okay, just settings for music, settings for pictures, weather, add-on service. Let's look at this for a second. This is a kind of a fun one. Share video and music libraries through Universal Plug and Play. So you turn this on, and then you fire up like your Xbox 360, and you go to the media center or the media player. Your XBMC instance will show there, and you can browse it, and you can play stuff on your Xbox. Now, if it's in a format that your Xbox supports, right? So if it's in an AVI or a WMV format, it's not going to play MKVs. It's going to play MP4s if they're encoded. Let's see. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. If they're encoded some way, it won't play everything. And of course, it's just a file browser, right? You don't give it a nice command or you don't get the library stuff. So the 360 will work sort of as a front end for this, but it's not very good. But that's available and that's kind of cool. This is really cool. Allow control of XBMC via HTTP. It's not turned on by default. You turn this on, you can do two things. One, you can hit the system directly through any browser on your local network or from another network if you port redirection. On this port, 8080 is the default. You can set up username and password. You can completely control the system that's running. You can see what video is playing. You can change the volume. You can skip. You can stop. You can do anything. You can refresh the library. You can do everything from this web interface. Okay? Once you have this enabled, this also then allows different remote control software to work. And I have one on here. I haven't turned this on yet, but there is in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store an official XBMC remote application. XBMC remote. And yeah, it says Novos Connect. But you can run the whole thing from your phone. Now remember, you can get XBMC for Android, so I could run the whole installation on here. This is just a remote that is designed to control this. So it's cool, you can see everything that's playing, you can do volume, you can just use it as a remote, like up, down, left, or whatever. So any device you've got. And that's just over Wi-Fi. So you don't even have to be in the same room. So that's fun. And I also turned this on. This has to be, yeah, I can mess with my kids from work. This has to be on also if you want to use the API. And for some reason, I can't. I think my cable modem needs a reset. I was going to log into my box at home and show you the cron job I use. It's just a curl command that hits the API to like update the library. But maybe I'll post it to the list. So it's just it's a well-documented API that you can use that's in the XBMC wiki to control the system from programmatically from the command line. So I have one that tells it to update the library when I add new content. Like when I drop a new file in one of the folders, I want it to update the library. So I just close those script and it does it. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about is add-ons. XBMC comes built in with support for add-ons written in Python, and there's a ton of them. You can access these through a number of different ways. You can either do them contextually, so if I go into TV shows, actually if I go into videos, I can access video add-ons right there. If I go into music, there's music add-ons, etc. You can also go back to System over here, Settings, and there was an add-ons section here. Okay? Enabled add-ons, get add-ons, install from zip file and search. Get add-ons. Okay? So what we're seeing here is a list of what are called add-on repositories or repos, kind of like RPM repos, right? XBMC comes in by default with this one called xbmc.org add-ons. I added this one called super repo all. I'll show you how to do that. Let's browse through the xbmc.org official ones, though, first. So they're broken down by categories. So here are all the different categories of add-ons you can get to extend XBMC functionality. They either give you access to other online resources of information, or maybe it's informational update. Like there's a lyrics plugin, which is kind of cool. When you're playing an MP3, it'll down in the subtitle area, it'll show you all the lyrics to the song. More movie information. Screensavers, you know, you can read all these. So let's look at like video add-ons. Okay, let's just pick here Al Jazeera. The 24. So this is a XBMC interface to the Al Jazeera web streams. No different than if you were sitting in front of a computer going to their website and following the streams, right? But this idea is that you've got an XBMC interface on your TV with a remote or a little keyboard, and you want a consistent interface for all of this. So here's a way to do it. Anime Vice, Apple iTunes trailers. So here's movie trailers for from Apple's site. Best of YouTube, Blip TV, CBS News. Yeah, there's a Twit one. CNET Podcast, College Humor. So let's just pick one of these and see what it looks like. Which one works? Oh, here, I like this one, the DIY Network. So it downloads it from the XBMC repo. You'll see here, status, downloading, installing, enabled, yay. Now I go back. Enabled add-ons, video add-ons, DIY Network, run it. Whoops, sorry, wrong interface. I'm sorry, I need to go all the way back to videos, add-ons, DIY Network. Okay. So it's the first time it's run, so it's going to work for a second to connect to the feed, and there you go. Here's all the stuff that DIY Networks makes available for free on its website. We're not doing anything wrong here. They're giving us all this on their website. We're just presenting it in a little bit better interface. Hammered. That's a great show name. And again, it's just whatever content they decide to display, right? So maybe clips, it may be full episodes, I don't know.
There's a Hulu plugin for this too, right?
There is a Hulu plugin for this as well. So let's try this. The children's bunk beds. And again, the quality of this is going to very much depend upon how good your
Today on
internet
Amp, we're making custom bunk beds for my friend's daughters, Cypress and Sierra.
What you'll see up here is you'll see it's kind of the standard YouTube bar. You'll have a brightly colored color here, and then you'll have a lighter colored one here as you're sort of chasing that cache, right? Again, it all depends on how good your stream is.
Family is a little short on space, making bunk beds a quick and easy solution.
Van Gogh painted the sunflower?
Who's Van Gogh?
So there's the, and you can, right arrow goes forward 30 seconds, and of course it's actually having to skip forward 30 seconds. Up and down arrow skip 10 minutes at a time. So if I hit up and wow, that's actually, it must have downloaded like most of them already. That's going really quick. I'm going to stop that one. On the interface, it tells you that you've already played this one. See that little arrow? And then if I play it again, if you want to continue from where you left off, you were last at 3 minutes in, you'll remember that, which is kind of cool. And then, now remember, how did we get in here? We went to movie, this was like 7 clicks to get in here, right, to get into this show. Maybe I decided I really like this show. So I'm going to hit C for the context menu and say add to favorites. So now Hammered on the DIY Network is in my favorites list. So I go all the way back to the main interface down here, that little star down there in the lower left. I hit enter. I have one entry in my favorites list. It's called Hammered. So you can do that with your own local videos, anything on the internet. You can do that with pictures. You can add it as a picture as your favorite if you want. Okay, let's look at one more add-on. What else do I have on here?
Is there a file scan add-on?
A file scan add-on.
No, a file scan, like a
IP camera.
Oh,
camera?
oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's look and see. So I added a third-party repo, and what this is, let's see. There's a page on the wiki called Unofficial Add-on Repositories, right? Standard disclaimer. And these are just ones that people have put together, and there's a list of them here, and there are a lot of them. Now remember, these aren't just additional plugins you can add. Each one of these is a collection of X number of additional plugins that you can add. There are literally tens of thousands of plugins that you can add to this. And some of them work, some of them don't, right? Some of them are actually for pay, or well, some of them are hitting like for pay sites. So you have to give a login and a password when you install it. It works. The question was, is there a Hulu one? Yes, there is. I was actually looking for it earlier today, and the one that I'm using at home actually isn't available anymore, so I couldn't find it. There have been a number of different attempts to make Hulu work. The one I have at home, you know, it worked about a week ago, and I tried it a couple days ago, and it was successfully showing me the little Hulu ad in front of the show, and then it would stop and say your show's done. So I think they're sort of actively breaking that, but it worked for a while. I was pretty much just using it to watch The Daily Show, and there's a specific Daily Show plugin, so what do I need the Hulu? So I installed one that I found from Lifehacker called the Super Add-on. There you go. It's the first one. Superrepo.org. XBMC add-on repository. So this is one of the bigger add-on repositories. And it was very simple to install. I click Get Started here. And it says, I want the version for Gotham. Okay, I downloaded it. Well, let's say it gave me a zip file. Okay, it saved the zip file. I go to XBMC. I went to System, Settings, Add-ons, Install from zip file. That was it.
Can you go back to the web browser real quick?
Yeah.
Just so I go back one.
Right here?
Oh, adult repo. I just wonder what that was. Never mind, sorry.
Got it.
I saw there's download now.
It's exactly what you think it is. And there's actually quite a few add-ons for XBMC that will give you all kinds of interesting content that would be classified as adult.
Now, take that question to its next logical conclusion. Is there a PIN system for your kids built into XBMC?
Very good, John. I had not even planned on talking about that, but 100% there is. Under, wait for it, System, I think, called Master Lock. There it is, Master Lock. You can put a PIN on this, and then people basically can't change anything. They can't add new repositories. They can't delete anything. They can't change any settings. It just becomes basically a read-only interface.
Okay, so because you
Also, wait, hold on. I haven't thought about this in a while. You could show and hide different repository. I don't know library stuff. Once it's all into the one, there's only one library. I don't think that works with, because that is kind of one of the situations I'm in. I have my movies in my file system split into movies for everybody and movies for adults. And it's just like R-rated stuff in there, right? But when it gets all into the library, it's all just in one big library. So when you're browsing through it, you see, 28 days later next to Aladdin. There's no way to have a separate library. You can have separate sources, and that's fine, but there's no way to have a separate video library. I wish there was.
No, there's probably an add-on now for it.
Yeah. So some of these, let's go back to, video add-ons. In the super repo, video add-ons. Oh, sorry, I'm mixing myself up here. Let's see what some of these are. We go back to System, Settings, Add-ons, Get Add-ons, Super Repo All. Okay. So this is the non-standard one. Let's do video add-ons. Some of these, marked as broken. See on the right there. This is for Russian sites. Not really interested in that. Okay, I'm just going to scroll through here. There's a lot of them. A lot. Here's some like, oh, it doesn't work with this version, right? Daily Fix, Daily Seinfeld.
When I was 10 years old, I started watching stand-up comedians on TV.
One channel.
Yeah, so this is
There's
just
only two.
ones that people have set up.
Oh, I guess there's different Daily Seinfeld.
Yeah, so I subscribe to a few of these, just to play around with here. So let's look at one of them. Videos, add-ons, Ice Film. Well, here, IGN is one. You guys know the website IGN. This was in the non-standard repo, the XBMC Hub Super Repo. There, it's just the videos that they put in there. I think it's just on their homepage. Oh, this one. You recognize that it was sourced off YouTube, so it's going to pull it off YouTube and play.
So will this handle any DRM content, or it doesn't have any capabilities for doing?
Yeah, Linux can play it, XBMC can play it. It's not doing anything special. It will, except for DVDs. It will attempt to do the DCSS stuff on DVDs.
You don't have to explicitly download that separately, you download it.
That's correct. It is built into XBMC. That's one of the dependencies when you build it. Oh, didn't like playing that video for some reason. Huh. Here is one of the non-standard ones. This is called ICE Films. This is a, what's the best way to describe it? This is like a categorization, a collection of TV shows and movies from all over the internet, publicly available. Most of it copyrighted information, honestly. So if I go to TV shows, popular, here's the popular stuff that's been downloaded through this plugin in the last X number of days. 10 million hits, 9 million hits, 8 million hits. Hey, it's Big Bang Theory. So, and I honestly do not know like where they're getting this data, how they organize it, if they get something like DVDB for it. I know nothing. I just know if you go here and you get this, it works. It works. Pick a random season, season 4. And it's all the same interface, right? You get your content in the middle, you got your preview on the right, you got your left pop-out menu over there.
It's running MIRC in the background.
Doing DCC connects. Constantly back.
Well, how? Like, I got a question. Is there a way to like aggregate like boxes? Like, let's say I have like a bunch of brothers and they all have fast internet. Is there a way for us to connect our databases?
Oh, great question. What would be the best way to do that? So you can each pull from each other's.
Sure. Like you would like when you search, you would say, okay, here's my stuff and here's
then
also
stream it
random
from
stuff.
that. Really, the question would be more or less of an XBMC question, more about what protocol would you use to stream that content from your friend? Would it be HTTP? You know, because there'd have to be some sort of discovery. Give me a list of all the files, right?
Right.
And then play the file. So like you could serve them over HTTP, but you'd have to. It'd be almost like a web service. You'd have to publish, right? That would say, you know, here's my list of files that are available. Unless you're doing like SMB or NFS or something over the internet. I mean, of course, if you VPN.
Yeah, just connect to VPN.
Okay, if you do VPN, you do NFS shares, and then it's exactly like we did here. Could be no different.
But you could, like, let's say if they're all in your LAN, and you have multiple.
Oh yeah, then it's just like this, right? You can have X, and they all go into one library. It wouldn't be multiple libraries, remember? It's multiple sources of data, all
All
imported.
in one doesn't. It
into
doesn't
one
tell
library.
you, like, so you wouldn't know necessarily.
You wouldn't know. It's all one. That is a little bit of a. I've run into that a couple times where I wished it worked differently. Wow, either this internet was really slow or it's working down here. It is going.
There's a branch of XBMC called Plex.
Yes,
That does-
and then
that
and
does
then we
that
get
very
to,
thing.
And then we get to Plex, right? XBMC is a great tool. I love it. It's not my only media solution for my home, actually. On a little TV in my kitchen, for a while I had a Raspberry Pi hooked up to this with a little media keyboard, and it worked. It was slow. The Raspberry Pi is nice, but the version I had, it wasn't one of the new ones with, 256 meg of memory, now it's 128. Navigating the interface was painful. Once I played the video, because it's got dedicated graphics on it, it would play 1080p video from this little $25 computer. Awesome. But navigating the menus was painful. So I had a Roku there as well, and that wasn't going away. So I'm actually using Plex for that. Like Tom said, Plex is a fork of XBMC from long ago. It's actually a commercial, well, it's an open source and commercial product now. They have Plex Pass that you can get. But it's a server, it's a client server query. This is just client, right? I didn't do anything on my server to run this. I enabled NFS sharing. Plex is actually a server process that runs, and then there's a Plex app for the Roku. There's a Plex app for Android. There's a Plex app for the iPad. And it basically works like XBMC does. It still does all the updating. It shows you everything, but it's got a couple of advantages. One, it has a really awesome web interface where not only can you control your library, that can be your whole client. You do the whole thing from a web browser. It can also do exactly what you're describing. If all of your friends are running Plex, and they become friends with you on Plex through this little friend thing, you can access their libraries and stream directly from them from any of your apps, from any of your Plex apps in your browsers. I do that with a friend of mine. I do that with Pete in Arizona. It works great.
You can set bandwidth limiting on
It's at bandwidth limitations. And the other awesome thing that I love about Plex is it transcodes video on the fly. Because the Roku, for example, can't play everything that you can throw at it, right? Like a regular computer can. It's limited to the number of codecs it can play, but Plex is smart enough to know that. So if I have like a 1080p MKV on my server, the Roku, there's no way it can play that. Plex will transcode it on the fly and send it to me, and it just actually works. So Plex, I tried Plex about 1.5 years ago, and I really didn't like it very much. The server crashed a lot. It was really bad. I had trouble with it, and I
They
just
never updated the same server component. All everything else has been updated to Linux component.
the Linux was behind, right? But I recently picked it back up again about 6 months ago, and I love it. We use it all the time. So I still have the XBMC system as my main system, kind of downstairs in my big projector. But in my bedroom and in the kitchen, I have Rokus that we use Plex. Really like it. So anyway, you get the point here. You can just hit play, and it'll download and stream it, and it'll play. One of the many, many, many add-ons that are available, not just video, but music and information. Feel free to take a look at it. Netflix is a popular question when you come here. There are add-ons that will let you do Netflix, but not on Linux. If the box you're running XBMC on is Windows or Mac, basically it just fires up the browser behind and encapsulates it in a window. But because it's Silverback. So no Netflix solution. Now, no XBMC only Netflix solution. There's third-party software you can do, and I actually do this. I have done this. There's software called Play On that you can get. It's commercial software. You have to run it on either a Mac or a Windows box on your LAN, and it basically acts as the bridge between Netflix and your other devices. So what it does is it goes out and it gets this internet content, and then it exposes it on your local network via UPnP. So any UPnP-enabled device, like XBMC, can connect to Play On, and it can do Netflix.
Is there something called Pipeline supposed to work on Linux now?
Pipeline?
Pipeline, it does wine, it puts a Silverlight inside a window, and
Nice.
yeah, I've tried it, it worked really, really shittily.
Really?
I mean, hopefully it's gotten better since, because
I had not heard of that one.
for all the winners of Silverlight.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's gotten better, I tried it when it first
That
came.
Silverlight was different, people. That's not new. Okay, what else is cool about XBMC? Programs, I don't have anything under programs here. I mean, this is a computer. You can have XBMC launch programs. There's a plugin you can get that's a main interface. If you want it to launch all your main ROMs, you can browse through your main ROMs with whatever and launch it right from here. I mean, it's really pretty amazing. You can launch arbitrary stuff. You can have different screens here. You can change this background. You name it. The wiki is actually a really, really good source of documentation. There's a ton of stuff out there. All these keyboard shortcuts that you can do. Community is great. It's really helpful. It's cool software. It's what Boxy is based off of. It's what Plex is based off of. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So check it out and play around. Don't let it crash your Gnome installation. Okay, I will. I'll post a message to the list with that little curl update script that I use, and that spaces underscore if you really want to use it.
There's
Yes, please.
TV Gamer, there's a config file that you can change to do that, same thing.
Oh, to change how it names it?
Yep, and
There you
you can
go.
also pick default language.
There you go. Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. So my next project is to make info files for all my home movies and stuff. So I can just sort of, but I'll do that once everything else is done.
Ultimate goal over time.
The ultimate goal once everything else is just hard to do.
Let's see. I think I'm supposed to talk next month when school is done.
On what, John?
I have no clue.
All right.
Yay! Maybe I'll make a program for it. I have no clue. That doesn't do.
No, I don't know.
You know, have you ever seen that meme on Failblog or whatever? It says, "Where do you want to know? Where do you want to go? I don't know, Bar and Grill."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was up on 108th Street. They just closed last week. So that meme is no longer in existence. Well, the picture will live on.
I don't care.
It was I don't care. I'm
I
sorry.
don't
that's
care
what it
Bar
was.
and Grill. Because they used to have prime rib on Wednesday nights.
There's a bar in the little tiny town of Auburn, Iowa called The Office.
Oh, it was neat.
Yeah, it's fun, yeah.
It was neat because you would call them and they'd say, I don't care.
That's how they answer the phone.
Yeah, I don't care.
library.
I like that.
All right, so.
Okay, so we need to find a
No, not the officer.
topic for next month, huh?
Yeah, we got something.
How about doctor?
What's that?
Doctor.
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 The shoes, the pants.
No, the most incredible thing that happened in software in the last year.
Enlighten us, Aaron. What's Docker?
Sounds like you're gonna give a talk.
Yes. It's virtualization containers to make deploying software incredibly easy. Like you can make a Docker for XP and C. You put everything together through C groups. You can deploy it to your laptop, your desktop, to a server. It handles the requisites, and it also does it all using LXC and stuff. It's going to change the way things work quite a bit. It's kind of like almost like the way Chromebooks of it. It just puts stuff in separately. You can remove it, update it, all sorts of stuff. It's very, very cool stuff.
Nice.
Sure.
DockerCon 14.
Actually, Docker.io, they've got a really great, actually go to get started page. No, sorry. Yeah, or that. And there's your tutorial how to start using it. Help. Cool. And just walks you through the basics of creating. But it's a very cool way of doing stuff because it's a different way of packaging stuff, moving stuff from distro to distro.
And in the cloud.
Yes.
Kind of like portable apps.
It's kind of, it does some stuff similar. It's kind of like, I mean, like Ubuntu's Juju stuff, some of the other stuff, the Charm stuff. Some of the stuff you can do with OpenStack and Turnkey Linux, but it's just doing
Turnkey,
it.
that was the one that you had talked about.
Yeah.
At the end of last year was Turnkey. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've made some big progress. They're actually working on doing their stuff as a deployable stuff as well as Docker.
As opposed to downloadable VM.
Well, you can deploy it to EC2 now. That's how they make their money actually. If you deploy their backup solution to Amazon, they get a couple pennies off the full backup. But they're working on doing their stuff as Docker implementations as well.
That sounds very interesting.
It is.
All right, well, let's see what happens.
Hey, cool.
Bye, viewers. Have a good night.